lost civilizations, extraterrestrials, ghosts, monsters, conspiracies, consciousness, the human soul, psychic abilities, this and more. Welcome to Dr. Lynch's Universe. I'm your host, Dr. Michael Lynch, and this is a registered nurse, certified hypnotherapist, and psychic to the stars, Vicki Main, as my co-host. And we were just talking about a few things while the commercials were rolling. So you have, in your past, a very large portfolio. And not only have you been in several documentaries, you have also been tested, you might say, by myself, yours truly.
And not to my knowledge either, I'll add, I did not know.
And you have been incredibly accurate. And so I know you do psychic readings for individuals who are, requesting information. But sometimes when we get together, you don't know what I'm going to ask. And a lot of times it just comes out, whatever it is, And a couple of these things have been that you have accurately predicted the location of the new Busch Stadium. You have accurately predicted that the Cardinals would win
the World Series when they won.
And as well as several other major events. I can't recall all of them right now because you've predicted so many. But what's the funny part about this is that not only do you have a 98% accuracy rate, the thing is that Gene Dixon only had one prediction that came true, and that was the assassination of JFK. And she became incredibly famous over that one prediction. You have had many, many predictions that have come true, have been documented, and we knew them months, in advance.
2 years ahead of the stadium.
That was 2 years. 2 years ahead of the stadium. And we normally did the top 10 prediction list for every year. And unbeknownst to me, I got some right. And I did not find out till later, but this was, my prediction was that the Humvee, would come out with a convertible Hummer. And we were on a radio show, and the host of that show said, "Oh, that'll never happen." And I said, "No, Hummer's going to come out with a convertible Hummer, like a convertible Jeep." And it didn't come out that year. It came out the next year. And I was off a year. And so some of the predictions that we do may take a little time, but they definitely do happen. It's shocking because in consciousness studies, we can get out there about 20 minutes into the future. But when you're talking 2 and 3 years into the future, that is a phenomenal event. You are I'm trying not to laugh here,
but you failed at that.
But I have been with Vicki. I've been with Vicki on many, many occasions, and one of the best occasions I've been with her is on Destination America. They did a live event almost a year ago this next month.
October 31st.
October 31st.
Last year on Halloween.
Yes, a year ago. She was on the live Destination America, revisiting the Belnor house, the Exorcist.
Exorcism Live. That's the name of it.
Right. And I can tell you from my point of view, Vicki did an admirable job. But also as a television producer and radio host and a radio production producer, it was a direct intent to defraud the public. I cannot say that loud enough. I'm going to the microphone. There it is.
There it is.
When Destination America spent over $12 million for a live hour-and-a-half event, and had it totally scripted.
Totally. I had a script, and somebody forgot to tell me that I was supposed to have a script, and I didn't,
And
which I wouldn't follow anyway. I told them, no, I'm not saying that.
Who did not want to do their research, who did not want to do their research. They didn't want to, and they didn't want to ask us anything. They didn't want to know. They purposely did not want to know. Because if they knew, then they'd be under fraud.
Right. Yeah, they had their own agenda. And for what they wanted to happen. Key words there, folks. What they wanted to happen. Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, in the listening audience, I want you to understand that there is a high school play and there is a professional play, and then there's Cirque du Soleil play, right, in Las Vegas. So now Destination America is somewhere in that mix. It was a play, a performance via entertainment, and that was their excuse. They were going to do it through entertainment.
I guess so.
And everyone there had a script. Everyone there had something to promote, and they were only going to use these people to emulate their agenda.
Yeah, definitely. And when I was talked to about being on there with Chip Coffey, and they call psychic medium, I'll give him.
Chip Coffey, psychic medium to the stars. Unfortunately, he's not psychic.
No, I'll give him a medium. Contacting the other side. That's what a medium does.
No, I can say it. I can say it. You don't have to say it.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you.
But there were two psychics on the Destination America Live event. One was Chip Coffey, and one was Vicky Main. And Chip Coffey was not a psychic. I cannot stress that enough.
So, but when I was first talked to about being on there, they made it very clear to me that Chip Coffey was to be the psychic medium there,
the ringleader in charge.
And I was like, okay, I don't have a problem with that. That's what you want. That's I have I don't have that big of an ego that I feel like I got to upstage somebody. I don't need to prove myself. If you don't believe me, oh well, okay, that's fine. That's your prerogative. I'll prove you wrong, but that's okay. So
so Vicky is to go in to the Belnor house during the documentary, sit down with Chip Coffey over a Ouija board.
Me and two other people.
And with two other people. And I have no idea who those two other people were.
Yeah, well, Murch he's president of the Ouija Board Society or something like that, and he has a collection of Ouija boards and very old Ouija boards. And as a matter of fact, he brought a Ouija board. I think that's what the Ouija board they used was made in 1947, the same year that this took place.
Yeah, they tried to emulate that was the original Ouija board that the boy would have used.
Right. No, and they did not use the Ouija board in the home either. They tried to say that also. The Ouija board was not used. The Ouija board incident took place back in the boys' original home up by Washington, D.C. I think they lived in
Maryland, Washington.
Maryland. That's it. Yeah, by Washington, D.C. That's where the Ouija board event took place with his Aunt Tilly. And that's where the demon got politely invited in.
That's right. The weird part about this is that Aunt Tilly came from St. Louis. And back in the 30s and 40s, the Ouija board became very, very famous because if you had a loved one that was at war, you could go to the Ouija board and find out if the loved one was alive, if it was wounded or hurt. And this is also when some psychics started becoming to some certain fame. But even the predominant families in St. Louis, the Anheisers, the Bushes, others had seances.
Yeah, that was a big thing
during
back
the time of Prohibition.
Seances and nobody was called particularly a psychic back then, except maybe Ed Casey.
Well, he came out a little bit, about the same time. There was a lady here in St. Louis who wrote a myriad of you might not say romance novels, but a lot of stories of novels, and she downloaded all those novels through the Ouija board. It was the life of
Pearl. Pearl. And that wasn't. That was.
I can't think of her name. I would say Mary something. So no, I mean no, that's the ship. Anyway, so
Pearl. It was either Pearl was her name or Pearl was
the entity's name.
The entity's name, yeah. And I thought it was like an automatic writing. I think maybe the contact was made through the Ouija board.
Yeah, it was made through the Ouija board.
And then it was it became an automatic writing.
Many skeptics and many literary artists visited her, watched her do what she did, and came out and said that was totally authentic, that she was using the Ouija board for this information. And then that's just made it all escalate. So by the time Aunt Tilly, pulled out the Ouija board, there was a whole society, you might say. It
was common.
It was commonplace in St. Louis. And and it was all the way into the 40s. And here's a here's a covert secret that not a lot of people know. The British government actually enlisted Dowser and to find submarines out in the British Channel.
They just needed a pendulum and a map.
Yes, a pendulum and a map, and they could dowse where the submarine were at that time. So this was not only common, it was being used as a military tool. Dowsing, Ouija boards, things like this started becoming more and more into the forefront of society because they had some type of application. So here we are at the Belnor House, and Destination America Live is coercing the general public into believing that there's still a demon in that house, Vicky.
I know. I know. Everybody thinks that, and it's like, wrong answer.
So you and Chip Coffey and these two other people who jumped in front of the camera automatically to show their smiling faces go into the room, and Chip Coffey declares that there are demons in there. What is your side of the story?
My side of the story? My side of the story was I cleared the house years ago. As evidenced on The Exorcist File, The Haunted Boy. That's where I did that. Further evidence that I did indeed do that. And I will clarify, everybody, please listen to this part, because I've seen, she didn't clear that demon out of that house. There was no demon there. And like, you're absolutely right. There was no demon there. It wasn't a demon. The demon was in the boy that was exorcised at the Election Brothers Hospital later on in this exorcism. What was there was just a mean and evil spirit that was holding children hostage there.
Yes.
And just no demon, just a mean, evil person. He was mean and evil in life, and he was mean and evil once he passed over. And, I come across these kinds all the time. St. Michael's my go-to guy. It's who I called, and you see that in the documentary. I don't know what they'll show, but if you watch the full documentary, at the, that's what I do. I clear the house using St. Michael and his forces to take the entity away and the children to, where they belong, but the children for protection and get them away from him to go on where they need to go. My proof that I was successful at this was when Ghost Adventures with Zach.
Yes.
Zach Baggins, is that his name? Zach Baggins?
Baggins or Bagans. I know he sounds like a hobbit, but Bagans. But I think it's Zach Bagans. But anyway, I always call him Baggins. But anyway, he went to that house to do his. He claims that he was the first professional group to investigate the Belnor house.
Wrong answer.
No, that was the wrong statement. It wasn't the wrong answer. There is no answer. But I can tell you that Greg Myers, myself, Vicky Main, there have been many, many other professionals there long before Zach even arrived.
We were with the Dave Glover show, were the first professionals in that home. No other media had ever been in that home prior to us going in there with the Dave Glover Halloween show that year. That first time. So we are the first professionals that were ever in the house, and I'm the only psychic that's been in the house and been there 3 times now in the house. So, but getting back to my Zach and his show.
Yes.
He goes in there to investigate, see, the haunted boy, the haunted, the haunted house, and, the exorcist house, and blah, blah, blah. And they aren't really getting too much of anything in there because I cleared it. But the thing that did it for me, vindicated me, is one of the neighbors wandered up. And they, Zach was like, "Oh, come here, And they're like, aren't you afraid? This is the exorcist's house. Aren't you afraid to be by this house, living by this house, And the guy's laughed, and he's like, "No." I said, "No, I'm not afraid at all. St. Michael's been seen hanging around here." Boom. Vindicated, folks.
So the next door neighbor actually saw St. Michael guarding the house, and
as he promised to do to me when I cleared it.
And it's so amazing that Chip Coffey did not know that during the live event,
right?
That Destination America did. Now, here's the other thing too: is that there is a secret to that house, and I would like to tell the audience that it was not detected by Destination America or their team of investigators. And that is that in the boys' room, emanating up from the ground, is a vortex of energy, which most of the ghosts emulate to. They actually go to these vortexes
for the energy.
And these are natural phenomenons that happen in the earth.
Vortexes are all over, everywhere. It's a matter of if you're able to feel that energy, sense that energy. And the energy that the vortex at that house is strongest vortex I've ever felt in my entire life.
Yeah. Could not be shut down. Could not.
Not that vortex. It's just too strong. And it doesn't really need to be shut down since the house is being protected. Anyway,
well, that's correct. But
it was very, it took me 3 tries to even set foot in that room, the boys' room,
so
because
much
of the energy.
coming out.
Because the energy was so strong there, which is also why the demon wanted it to wind up at that house.
Right.
When they were still up there in Maryland.
Right.
And they could not, they didn't have priests up there that were familiar with exorcisms or something, right. And they were Lutheran. Right. And then the boy had the raised letters from the inside that said Lewis. Mm-hmm. And they came here to the mother's sister's home in neighboring Normandy, and there was so much activity through that night. She was like, I'm sorry, you can't stay here. That's when they wound up at Belnor, the neighboring community. And the father's brother lived in that house. And that is exactly why the demon wanted that boy in that house to draw his strength from that vortex in that house, which is why the boy they couldn't complete the exorcism at the house. Why he wound up going to St. Vincent Hospital, because he was kind of like needed replenishing fluids and whatnot. And then eventually they just took him back down to the St. Louis University Rectory and eventually to Election Brothers Hospital, where they were able to complete it at the hospital because the demon had no more energy. Basically, it didn't have anything to keep itself strong like it had at the Belnor house with the vortex energy.
What's really amazing that in my research on the exorcism here in St. Louis is that there were 24 priests and 1 friar, or 23 priests and 1 friar that actually had direct contact with the boy or was told of the event right after it happened. Mm-hmm. And for the priests that went under the order of silence to not talk about any exorcisms, it was very interesting when they did come out, and all of their stories jived. They all went together. Mm-hmm. So in many cases they took an oath they wouldn't talk about it, but in other cases they actually came out individually and said, well, this is what I know about this. And then they would describe that. That is really the facts to the whole case. Mm-hmm. And with a lot of research, I dug up all their names, and not a lot of them are alive even today. So
I don't think anybody's alive anymore since the last priest passed away not long after this. The Exorcist File, The Haunted Boy was made. Mm-hmm. I think he passed away shortly after that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So in the documentary, I just want to tell the audience, in the documentary, The Exorcist File, The Haunted Boy, you can probably find it on Amazon, and you can find it at Redbox in some areas. Redbox, you can rent it or you can buy it. This is the full documentary. Now, what they're going to show on Destination America on October 7th at 8 p.m. They are Central Time, 8 p.m. A reduced version, an hour long.
It's going to be an hour long. Right.
So I don't know what they're going to cut out.
Right. We don't know.
This is very interesting. Again, this is the weird part about it. Destination America does a live event at the house, finds next to nothing. Mm-hmm. Chip Coffey says there's demons in the house. He doesn't want to stay in the house. He wants to get out. The ghost investigators at the time built all these weird apparatuses to find the entities, and there were none in the house. Again, no one asked us if the house was clear. No one asked us about the vortex. No one had known about the vortex until it came out in this documentary, The Exorcist File, The Haunted Boy.
Well, I knew about it. We knew about it from the first time we were there.
Oh yeah, no, we knew about it. We
knew about it. I talked about it, with the Glover show. But as far as
accepting it or understanding what it was all about, the producers did not even want to go there. No. And the more that I tried to press upon them that this could be a dangerous facility, because if you're not aware about vortexes, they can drain your energy, give you migraine headaches, do a lot of things. The weird part about this, they didn't care. They did not care. They set up their equipment, and as long as it did not interfere with their equipment, they did not care. Mm-hmm. And this is when you start to realize that this was not a Cirque du Soleil play. This was not a professional play at the Fox. This was your high school play that was being perpetrated on the public live.
Yeah.
And
it was live, yeah.
Yeah. And I got a good dinner out of it. And then that was about it. The whole thing.
I had 2 dinners out of it.
The whole thing is
2 days.
I positioned myself in the backyard.
Right. Right.
And I actually photograph and videotape consciousness in the backyard, looking through the cameras underneath a stage there that was developed for the Twitter correspondent. There, all the activity was outside the house.
Outside.
Yeah, there was none inside the house. So when Bishop Long and Chip Coffey go in the very last few minutes to exercise the house, that is how Destination America lived up to his claim, because it was called Live Exorcism or Exorcism Live.
Exorcism Live.
And that lived up to the title as long as Bishop Long went in there and did an exorcism. Okay.
And he did.
And he did. And so under the title, they didn't defraud anybody.
Right.
But under the circumstances of what we all understand, they did, because they did not ask the pertinent questions. Is the place haunted? Is there a vortex in there? Do you think anyone's going to get hurt?
Right.
As long as it didn't affect with their Sideshow Bob scenario, it was lights, camera, and action.
And and that's what they said too.
And everybody had a script.
Yeah,
everybody had a script.
Everybody had a script, and I have the script. I got a script, for before I left, I was given a script, and but I have to say, first day in the first rehearsal, when it came time for the exorcism, I mean, not the Ouija board session.
Yeah, the Ouija board session.
Yeah. And Chris was, supposed to called Chip in and interview Chip, and then all three of us, he was supposed to interview us, and we apparently had lines. And when I was in line to go up there, and the guy that says, okay, now you know your lines, and I'm like, what lines? And he just kind of looked at me, and I'm like, it's like, you have lines. I said, nobody told me I had lines, so no, I do not know my lines. I'm sorry, nobody told me. And he's like, oh my God, you don't know your lines. And I'm like, no. And I go, what are my lines?
So as you would have a stage manager, walking around with players, actors on a stage, and then they would say, do you know your lines? That's exactly what this gentleman was doing.
Yeah, right.
Had the headset on, probably with the microphone, and saying, Vicki Main doesn't have a script, or she doesn't know her lines.
Yeah, nobody told me I had any lines. So then he showed me the script and showed me, and it was just a couple of lines. I mean, but what it said, I looked at him, I'm like, I can't say that. I'm sorry, I cannot say that. And he just looked at me like, and I said, I will say this, and I said that, and he said, oh, okay, well, that'll work. Well, okay then. And then they cut all three of us out by the dress rehearsal the next day. It's like, no, we aren't going to use you guys. You're not getting interviewed now. Okay.
and what's so amazing, ladies and gentlemen, of the audience, is that when Vicki came in with Chip Coffey to do the Ouija board session, she was supposed to have been act like she was frightened, or say that she was frightened to enter the house. Well, they cut all that out, and then Chip went in some tirade about, there's demons in the house, we're not going to play with this or whatever, which ended up to being 30 seconds too short. That segment that Vicki is in, the Ouija board session, ends up being 30 seconds too short. So when Bishop Long in the end starts doing the exorcism, they're 30 seconds too long, and so he has to repeat the words.
Right. The good guy said, do it again.
Yeah, Chip Coffey says, the good guys say, do that again. Well, the good guys were in the control booth talking to his headset and saying, we need the extra 30 minutes. 30 seconds before we go. And so in the end of that, Chip Coffey is directly being influenced by his headset. And even though you try to conceal it quite a bit, I actually had a lot of emails talking about, why does Chip Coffey have an earpiece? And it's because the control room was in charge of everything. Just like in a play, the guys up in the control room running the lights and the audio are sitting there going, we need an extra 30 seconds, or we clipped an extra 30 seconds. We got to gain an extra 30 seconds. And that's what that was all about.
Right. What surprised me too, and aggravated me, is if you remember during the rehearsals, both rehearsals, and and the dress rehearsal was that afternoon, and they had a camera set up on all four of us during the Ouija board session in the dining room. And by the time we did the actual show, camera that was supposed to bid on me disappeared. Disappeared. It wasn't there. And I'm kind of like, okay, so why did you do this in the rehearsals and not, then the show comes on and there's none there.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what I did that they decided.
Well, you didn't have a script, Vicki. You didn't have a script.
Well, I didn't have a script in that part of it, but I don't know.
Okay, well, we'll talk a little bit more about this when we get back, but right now we got to take a break, and thank you for listening to this segment of Dr. Lynch's Universe with my co-host, Vicki Main, and we'll be back right after this. And we're back from those stimulating commercials. And I'm sitting here with my lovely and talented psychic to the stars co-host Vicki Main.
Hello.
She may not want to ever do this again, but we'll carry on.
I'm having a ball.
We are in the midst of a political election.
Mm-hmm.
We're in the midst of a change in economy.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know why Donald Trump wants to build a wall between us and the Rio Grande or us and Mexico, because all of our jobs are in Mexico now. Oreo Cookie,
I can answer
Ford,
that.
and a few others are down there now. I'm threatening to go to Mexico, jump the fence, and then go to Mexico just to find a job. I know they don't probably pay too much, but there is turmoil in the country, and we have never been so divided amongst the working class as we have been right now.
Right.
And do you see, as a psychic, any healing process going on, or is this just going to escalate? Is this just going to increase?
Well, that's a very good question. I think I kind of think that things could possibly get worse before they get better, but people are going to just simply get really fed up. The American people. That's not who our country is, and this is not our country. And the American people are simply it's not. Yeah. And the American people are, we're getting to the point where we're, getting to our breaking point. I think everybody is in America, and I think we're going to reach our point, and that we're going to make our voices heard one way or another.
In an upcoming show, we're going to talk about the right to protest, and I think it'll probably be the next show, but I am for protest. I'm for it in every fashion. In France, anyone for any reason can protest, and they can do it as long as it doesn't hurt or harm anyone.
Right. Bingo.
They can put up a sign, and they can walk out in front of a business, or they can walk out in front of something, a merchant, a business, or even something they work with or work for, and they can say unfair treatment.
Right. Right.
And I think that Riot Radio, what we're on, is a way that we can formally protest. It's not what we would call high profile,
right.
But the right to protest, I think every American has that right. And we're not being heard. We are not being heard this side of the Potomac. Now, I want the listeners to know that there is a line called the Potomac River. And once you cross that line, it's like they get immediately stupid and deaf.
And which side of that line are we crossing, Michael? Let's clarify that.
That's called stupid. They get real stupid and they're deaf because they don't listen to the constituents that voted them.
That's on the east side of it, correct?
Yes, that's
okay,
correct.
That's what I'm clarifying
it's
here.
It's in the District of Columbia there.
Yes, there we go, east side.
And they call it the Potomac disease. That is, as soon as elected official gets elected, they get in there. And then they just stop listening to what's going on. Without a method of protest, I think the human spirit, as well as the American consciousness, needs to have that release.
Right,
it needs to be able to state what is wrong in our society.
Right, exactly. And we are not being paid attention to by any stretch of the imagination at all. And that's what I'm saying. The American people are going to be getting, they're getting very fed up with this. Very tired of the way, we are being treated as citizens. We're citizens, hello, and they just simply could care less. It's about we're back to the money.
Yes, we are.
Again,
now, I want to bring up just one quick thing, because we've been talking about corporations and money and the willful intent to defraud the American public. And when you start to see this type of psychology, it is because they have found no new realms to explore. So they're feeding off the corpse of what was, or pulling at the heartstrings of what was, not what is.
Right.
So when you have these corporations saying, if we don't defraud the public, we cannot make a profit. If we cannot borrow $1 billion and show it as profit, then we're not going to make a profit. So once they've collateralized out their entire industry, banking, manufacturing, whatever, then that means they can't borrow any more money. They've got to show a profit, so they have to go and defraud the public through a service or action that they either do not need, but that you will pay for. Here is a common example that bothers me a lot. I have Yahoo email.
I do too.
And 10 years ago, whether I wanted it or not, I had no choice over this. They would put up pop-up advertising in my email, on the right-hand column or at the top of my ledger.
Right, exactly.
So I get 20 emails. At the top of it, the first email I get is an advertisement that has been paid for by a company through Yahoo.
Right, correct.
On the right-hand side is another list of advertisements, which are called predatory advertisements. Means if you clicked on them several times, they will continue to come back. Yahoo has now sent me emails and pop-ups saying, if you want to pay $3.99 a month, you don't have to get all this advertisement.
Right. Yeah.
What?
Let's talk blackmail.
Let's talk extortion here.
Yeah.
First you put them there until they become such a nuisance I don't even check my mail anymore. And then you turn right around and say, oh, we can make your problems go away.
Just pay us to do it.
Just do it, $3.99 a month, and all this will just disappear, and you'll have your old original email back with no advertisements.
Right. But that's the premium one that you're going to get. Come on now, Michael.
Okay.
Premium, honey.
When did Amazon come out with Amazon Prime?
Right.
Hulu is out now, and they have Hulu Direct or Executive.
I don't know.
And then you pay $7.99 a month for it. Okay, Netflix, when it came out, at least it was honest and said, you're going to pay $8 a month no matter what. Blockbuster Video comes out, and Vudu comes out, and then AT&T Universe has their premium load or downloadable movies for $6 or whatever.
Yeah.
So these services are excellent. They're very nice. But when they say we will take something away in lieu of payment, then why did you put that there to annoy me in the first place? You're getting money from the advertisers.
Right. You're already getting paid for this.
So you want me to pay you again to take it away?
Yeah.
My God.
Wow. What a nice little spin they put on that, isn't it?
Oh, my God. It's like, okay, jab me once. Shame on me because it's a free service. Yahoo Mail is a free service.
Right, it is.
Stab me once with a bunch of predatory advertising. Shame on you. But then shame on me if I have to pay you to take all that away.
Yeah, if I pay for it. Shame on me if I pay for it to take it away.
Exactly.
That's something that wasn't ever there in the first place. And
That's right.
and they, understand, they need to make their money to continue running Yahoo, and they need the advertisements. I mean, it's the same, as a TV show. You got to have the commercials to pay for the TV show.
Yeah.
And I understand that.
I understand that. That's business.
But to turn around and make us pay to not have them.
Okay, here's another example which I don't understand. When cable television came out, when HBO first came out, and many of these other channels like Stars and stuff like that, there were no commercials. People would pay a subscription, just like a newspaper, every month to get these cable networks provided to you. You paid. Okay. Then all of a sudden, commercials start to show up. And it's like, wait a minute, I'm paying a subscription not to have commercials interrupt my television viewing to the point of, we're just going to slip in one or two. We're just going to slip in two or three. And then all of a sudden, every channel except for the premium channels, like Stars, HBO, Cinemax, and there's another one out there. Anyway, if you pay more for those channels, we'll be glad to take the commercials away.
Of course.
And so what is it? Is it extortion? So what we have been doing lately, I have AT&T Universe.
Mm-hmm.
Because why? They've bundled it now. So you got your email, your network. So you have your network, you have your email, you have your phone, and your television.
Right.
All in the same server, on the bundle, and they get you in the bundle deal.
Phone service?
Yeah, phone service, internet, and telephone. No, telephone, internet, and
Wi-Fi.
No, I got Wi-Fi. That's already built in.
Oh, you don't pay extra. You don't pay extra to have your internet connection? You said internet,
television, and telephone.
Yeah, 3.
Oh yeah, okay, right.
There we go. We're okay.
So I'm paying. I just lost my mind. So we're paying. I'm paying for 3 things. Okay.
Right.
Do you think I have the time, and especially if a person works 8 hours a day, do you think they have the time to sit there and say, gee whiz, I think I'm being screwed over? So virtually, I find the programs I like. I record them, DVR them.
Yes.
And guess what I'm doing? Just like the Hopper on that one system. I fast forward through the commercials.
Right. That's exactly what I do. I can't stand watching TV shows anymore, not because I'm so used to fast forwarding to commercials.
Because, okay, so everyone says, did you see fill in the blank, Ancient Aliens last night? And I go, no, I'm going to watch them right now, and I'm going to watch it in 42 minutes where it took you 60.
Right, exactly.
Because I'm knocking out the 20 minutes of commercials.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's exactly what I do. Like I meant what I just said. I can hardly stand watching a TV show anymore because I'm used to going to the DVR when I have time, and I just hit that little fast forward button, and we just go still running through those commercials because I'm sick of commercials, as everybody is.
And when the internet was young, back in our golden-haired days of youth on the internet, where I was building most of it, YouTube never put a commercial on any of its self-loaded stuff.
Yeah, isn't that?
And I can remember back when. And then they started calling it monetization. So you can monetize your YouTube videos, and that means you would get a check from YouTube if you got so many views in a certain amount of time over a period of a week or whatever, or a day. And so people thought, oh yeah, let's monetize it. Well, how you can do it, if you don't get the ratings or whatever, you can do it through commercial play. And so then they just sit there and say, do you want your YouTube video monetized? And then if you go, yes, a pop-up will show up on or commercial will show up. Okay, I am the 4-second guy. If a commercial pops up in a YouTube video, I know that guy's not getting paid squat.
Really?
But he's selected the button for monetization. So at 4 seconds, it says skip this commercial.
Skim it, right.
Bam, man, I am on that Swiss cheese. I am like, I'm all over that like cheese whiz. I am like, push that button like a boss and get onto the video. I don't have time. If you have not impressed me through a political ad or a truck ad or
I don't care
whatever
what the ad is, I'm
chainsaws with chainsaws and hockey mask ad, I do not want to see it. I want to see the info that's coming up.
Right.
And
I want to see what I clicked on to watch on YouTube. That is what I want to see. And
the other thing is, I watched 1,000 third phase of the moon, and I know guys out there who are UFO guys, and they are they see these videos, and third phase of the moon is there, and I do not want a 5-minute dissertation on what I'm about to see. Just narrate it as I'm seeing it. But it's somebody, blah, 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 blah. All I'm seeing is the logo for third phase of the moon. And I'm sitting there going, oh my God, just show me the UFO.
Show me the video.
Show me the money. Show me something.
Show me the money. We're saying show me the video.
Show me the video, because I have gone through a 4-second commercial. Did not care about. I've gone through a pop-up, which pops up. I've gone through, I do not need a dissertation on how much that person does not know. Show me the video. I'll analyze it myself. Is it going to be real or fake? Blah, blah, blah. And I've seen a lot of fake videos.
Oh, I'm sure.
Said it was real.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And I'm sitting there going, oh my God, I wasted 5 minutes of my entire life going through this dribble. And that's the same thing with radio anymore. I listen to guys who are on Art Bell, Midnight in the Desert, Late Night in the Midlands. I listen to a lot of radio. I listen to Riot Rock Radio. on occasion, in the dark, in a closet, so that nobody else listens to it.
You didn't really say that, Darren.
But I do not want this dissertation. I just want the facts. But the corporations that are the buffers, the go-betweens, the gate,
right.
the guardians of the gate are sitting there saying, oh no, you can't get to this junk not unless you see this commercial, pay us a fee,
all right,
or whatever. And they're getting paid for both sides.
Mm-hmm.
They're getting paid by the guys who are buying the package deal, internet, television, and telephone.
Right. Mm-hmm.
We are paying them on a monthly basis, and yet they still harpy us into advertisings, and then they say, we can make this all go away if you even pay us more.
Yeah, pay us more.
Total.
Well, anything you
extortion.
want, just pay us more.
It's total extortion.
That's right, it is. Absolutely, I know. It's it's very
these guys. I wish I could get up of a morning and say, gee whiz, I need to buy another yacht today, or I need to put another Ferrari in the garage.
Mm-hmm.
So guess what? All my employees will not get a pay raise. We're going to charge 20% more for whatever product this is, and all that's going to come to me. I don't know how it does. And then they shell it into the Bank of the Bahamas or the Bank of Ireland, and they don't have to pay any taxes.
Right.
Apple, Google,
I know,
goes around the world. These high-tech corporations are making millions and millions of dollars, and they're taking those profits, running them through different countries into a shell game and hiding it. Okay, right. Do you think, Vicki,
yes,
that the Apple new phone, the new iPhone 7, do you think it actually, not that it's worth $600 or $700? I don't know how much it costs, but do you think it is? Do you think it's worth what people are paying for it?
Do I think it's I think they're a little ridiculously priced. Any smartphone, because I have Androids and Samsungs and Galaxies, and I love them to pieces, but I do think they are way overpriced.
So are you buying the iApple logo, or are you buying?
Oh, you're paying for the name.
You're paying for the name.
Just like we talked earlier about Starbucks and the cost of Starbucks.
Yes.
You're paying for the Starbucks name. It's still a cup of coffee for 50 cents a cup. Okay.
Is it still called designer? Now, back in my day, we used to have Jordache jeans and Calvin Klein jeans, and these were designer jeans.
Well, they still have designer jeans these days, don't they?
I don't know.
Do. Yeah,
I have no idea.
They do. They got designer everything, and it's
well, that's what you're paying for,
right? And that's why I don't buy them. I'm sorry. All you people, hello, wake up. All you're doing is lining the pockets of these people, and they're brainwashing you, going, hey, it's my name. These are better than anything, and it's my name. You pay whatever I say you pay, because it's my name, and you're going to get the privilege of having my name on your ass on your jeans, okay? That's what it's about, and I refuse to line their pockets. I'm sorry. That's all it is. That is all it is. You're paying, Starbucks, the Samsungs, iPhones, Apple. I don't care.
No,
you are paying for their name, and what the product is,
and they have a right to charge whatever they want for that name.
They do. Yeah. They do, but and you know how I live with these kind of things.
How do you live with this? I'll tell you how I live with it. It will be funny.
Seriously, on these kind of things, and back to the EpiPen we were talking about earlier, and the CEO that decided to raise that price, the politicians and what they do and what they've done to this country and whatever, the laws of karma, baby, the laws of karma. I promise you, some of these folks, like this chick that decided to get 19 million raised, she's going to come back in another lifetime, and she's going to be the beggar on the street.
Well, I promise you this. I can't not wait that long.
You have to. Karma works.
I'm collecting my Smith & Wesson right now.
I don't want to come see you in jail. Okay, Michael? Let's tone it down. It's
America, Vicki. Everyone has a right to a gun.
I didn't say that. I just said I didn't want to see you in jail for shooting somebody. I didn't say you couldn't have a gun.
I didn't say I was going to get caught.
No, okay, I got you there. Okay. I got you.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, truly, that's somehow that's what keeps me from my blood popping out of my head, boiling at what people do to other people, your countrymen, your peers. It just boggles my mind. And that is the only way I can comprehend and be okay with it. Like, okay, you're doing this horrible thing that is harming people,
right?
Millions of people.
It's a moral dilemma. It's what it is.
It's not a dilemma. They're making a choice. There's no dilemma about it. They're choosing to do this.
They're an immoral dilemma.
Yes.
That's the problem.
Yes.
Not only is it choice, it is affecting millions of people across the planet.
Yeah, exactly.
There was another guy who bought into malaria drugs, and they were about $8 a pill. Then he raised the price to $1,200 a pill and said, well, if you're really sick, you're going to buy it.
Yeah. And that's like the hepatitis C pill.
Right.
Also, they're doing the same kind of nonsense. It's, if you really want it, you're going to pay for it. Really? You're going to go to hell in a handbasket, honey. With that, I mean, you don't do that to people. That's we're humans. We're human beings.
I love, in my mind, being Christian and being capitalism. Living in a state of capitalism is a dichotomy. You can't be both. The way these guys go around it, not only they're sociopathic, they get around it by saying, in God we trust. Everybody else pays cash.
Yeah.
And then you're paying cash.
You
are paying cash.
Right. We are in debt.
In that dilemma.
Right.
We are in
debt to our eyeballs.
Oh, yeah.
Trying to keep up with these people that are watching us scurry around and are laughing hysterically as they collect their 19 million, their billions and billions of dollars, and have their, Lamborghinis and Rolls Royces and their, homes that, their mansions by the sea and God knows what else. And they're laughing at us scurrying around trying to survive and pay $600 for an EpiPen that's going to save your kid's life.
Yeah. So after you're working your second or third job, then you can sit back and say, oh, I can relax now because I paid my bills and I can actually afford an EpiPen. Yeah,
exactly. And that's so wrong. That's just so wrong. And that's why I go back. I can only deal with this knowing the laws of karma that they will pay for it at some point in time.
I'm going to inject this in. This is not a good time to inject this in, but I'm going to inject this in before we go to break. We only have a few more minutes left. I just want to say John Boehner. 2 words. John Boehner, former Speaker of the House. He was making millions of dollars. He was making millions of dollars as being Speaker of the House. Millions of dollars. John Boehner.
But Speaker of the House shouldn't be making millions of dollars. That's our back pocket.
Right, exactly. Roy Blunt approved his pay raise 12 times. Now it's just automatic. So John Boehner, Roy Blunt, all these guys, Paul Ryan, a lot of the Democrats, Pelosi, they just get automatic pay raises automatically.
Because they voted them in without voter approval.
Right. Well, we're not in a democracy.
Right. Yeah, that's
People need to realize that. So John Boehner retires as being a congressman, Speaker of the House, and now he is a lobbyist for the tobacco company.
Oh, God.
He is now going to be paid millions, $10 million to be a lobbyist. Where he was probably making about $1 million being a congressman.
Oh, only $1 million.
Yeah, close to it. Yeah. Now he'll still get that pay even after he's left.
Oh yeah, they do.
They
voted that in for themselves too.
Oh yeah, they get paid. Yeah. So Jim Talent, he's not holding an office right now. He still gets his paycheck.
Right.
And it's an automatic raise.
That's their pension.
Yeah. Oh, that's their pension. He was
only got it wrong. It's their pension.
He was only in office 6 years or 8 years, and Jim Talent. Then he went to work for Mitt Romney to get Mitt Romney running for president. But now Jim Talent's sitting back, writing his memoirs, collecting his pay.
Right.
Boondoggle, man, boondoggle. I hate to say the old word boondoggle, but that's exactly what this is. The taxpayers are paying, and none of it's going away. It doesn't get any better for the taxpayer.
No. Only worse. I saw a chart not too long ago.
That Potomac disease I'm talking about. When you get across that other side.
That east side.
That east side of Potomac.
That's right. The east side. Yeah.
You got no love for anybody else.
Yeah. I saw a chart not too long ago. I don't know where I saw it. But anyway, it was a chart to the breakdown of who paid taxes, say back in the 50s.
Oh, yeah.
And now. And the corporation was the majority in the 50s that paid the taxes. We, the people, are now the majority, and that little pie slice got a lot smaller for the corporations and paying taxes.
Yeah, because the corporations don't pay any taxes; they're actually subsidized by our government.
Yeah, they are.
And the super wealthy don't pay any taxes either because they're playing the shell game.
Right.
This is where Google and Apple and a bunch of others who have global resources. This stuff is made in Taiwan and China and Japan and shipped back to us.
Right. Crap.
And they have global resources. So their workforce is minimal. Computers do a lot of it. So here we have a scenario to where, like our car companies, Chrysler and Ford, went broke.
Right.
They went to our government to get a bailout. What the hey? Go to China and ask for a bailout.
Right.
Go to whatever country is manufacturing your. Go down to Mexico and ask for a bailout.
Right.
Because it's those jobs that we've just bailed you out to support. We didn't bail out Chrysler or Ford or whatever. Look at Saturn. Saturn went bankrupt. And they just closed out.
Yeah.
And that's capitalism. If you go bankrupt, you close out.
Bingo, you're done.
You're done.
Your shell game's over.
But no, these other guys ran down and said, hey, if we quit, we're just too big to fail. We're just too big to fail.
Right. The banks were too big to fail. Chrysler was too big to fail. GM was too big. I think I heard where Ford was the only one that never got a bailout ever.
Well, they didn't need to. They sent all their cars down to Mexico.
Oh, that's it.
So they bailed them out. That was talk about a WPA. Oil companies don't really pay that much taxes. They are subsidized by our government to make sure they don't have a loss. Tobacco companies, honey husbandry, used to be that way. Yeah, bee husbandry used to be that way. Tobacco farmers and tobacco companies were that way. If they showed a loss, the government came in and equalized it all. That's the same way about farming today.
Right.
If you go in, so what happens is the labor is not, your expenses are paid, but the labor to do the work is never paid. So we are being sold a bill of goods saying we need to keep up with the Joneses. We need to keep up the $7 cup of coffee. At the same time, that puts us in fear mode. Okay. And then our labor is never paid for. But yet we pay taxes on our labor, which is illegal by the Constitution. The IRS did a 180-degree flip when they stopped looking at corporations as corrupt and started looking at the individuals as corrupt.
Right.
So the IRS, that was supposed to and sworn in to investigate only corporations, did 180 degrees and say, no, the money's not in the corporations, it's in the people. We need to go into their daily lives and then screw them over. Scrutinize what they're doing and then make sure they're not screwing out the Americans. Well, what's left of the middle class are the people who have joined the service, who've gone into military, who have worked at jobs or two jobs. They don't need the IRS penny pinching them out of existence.
Right. The IRS needs to. Well, we're back to the corporations are running the country, and so fascist, that's why
lobbyists and fascists,
right? And that's why the IRS doesn't, look at the corporations anymore, who are the biggest crooks there are on the planet, and because they're like, oh no, here, here's this, here's that, here's this, and you go look at them, go look at the little people that don't make pittance.
What gets me is people like John McCain, who doesn't know how many homes or cars he owns, but will tell you that a welfare mother is taking away all of America's money.
Did he really say that? Yeah. You notice my silence there.
And John McCain also said that if you're not making $5 million a year, you're not even human.
Dear God, did he say that for real?
Now his wife is incredibly wealthy, and he has a few dollars in the bank. But the point being is that
he's an idiot.
He's talking about people should be paying him for the rights of access, the rights to lobby, and things like this, and for his reelection campaign. Now he says, because of Donald Trump, this is John McCain. He's saying because of Donald Trump, it makes him look bad and he may not win the next election.
Oh,
John, you've been there for 30 years.
Retire, dude.
30 years. These are not lifetime positions. These are not lifetime positions.
See, this is how they brainwash the American public.
Yes.
They have put the spin, and it's a spin. Career. This is a career. We know what we're doing. This is our career. You don't know what you're doing. You don't, because you made this a career, so you don't have a clue what's going on. When our government was founded, the founding fathers, they went and they did their jobs in Washington.
Went back to the farm.
And they went back to the farm and went back to work.
Law.
That was the way to. They ensured that whoever was running the government knew exactly what was going on and what the people needed, because they were going to need it when their little buckets were booted out of Washington, D.C., and they had to go back to real life.
Yeah.
And so the politicians have now started spinning that, I'm the best because look how many years I am. I'm a career, and a career politician is an oxymoron.
Yeah, it should not be.
It should not be.
Should not
And
be. That's right.
and that's why there's talk about term limits because they need to be term limits. You can only serve so many years, and then you're done forever.
Yeah.
Lobbying too, and lobbying's another thing that needs to go out the window. Is lobbying.
Yeah.
That's
John
bribery at its prime.
Okay, Dick Gephardt, who was Speaker of the House, was admired from the St. Louis area. He worked his way up from the St. Louis area and went on to become Speaker of the House.
Right.
When he left, he became a lobbyist. He made $10 million.
I don't doubt that at all.
On his first day as being a lobbyist.
Oh, dear God.
Okay, so when...
That's ludicrous.
So when Rush Limbaugh starts talking about how Barack Obama has made a little bit of money while he's been president for 8 years, these guys have had 30. And Joe Lieberman was running for president, or he was going to be up to vice president, and he was asked by, who was it, Al Gore or somebody, and he says, I've only been here for 25 years. I'm just getting to know my way around D.C.
Is he an idiot? Or what?
I was going, 25 years, dude, you should be retired.
That's right.
You should be out of there.
He shouldn't even be there 25 years in the first place.
That's right. You have punched the clock, collect your gold watch, and go home.
Right. Right, exactly.
But when you start seeing that a lot of these career politicians, and I mean these are career politicians, are 38 years. Strom Thurmond was there for what, 40 or 50 years?
Something like
Strom
that.
Thurmond was?
Yeah.
He was in a wheelchair and they were wheeling him up.
Yeah, exactly.
And then Senator Byrd was there for almost 50 years.
Yeah, that's not government for the people.
It blows my mind.
That goes along with the Supreme Court as far as I'm concerned. Who was the idiot that decided if you're appointed to the Supreme Court?
Life.
It's life.
There's
There's
a back door to that. There's a clause. You can retire at any time, but you are a judge, Supreme Court justice for life. So the deal is, even if they retire, they still have Supreme Court justice written on all their monograms.
Well, they can do that just as long as they're not sitting on the bench making decisions
they don't
when
have
they're 90
to be
years old and don't know how they are.
Rehnquist was sitting there taking some type of drugs and going into seizures right there in the court. And it's like the bailiffs had to come over and pick him up out of his... I mean, he was like on the floor doing the seizure, and they had to pick him up and put him back in. He was okay, I'm okay.
Dear God in heaven.
No, this should never have happened. That guy should be walked to a hospital and never come back. He's retired.
Well, first off, somebody that's in their 80s and 90s, they don't have a clue. They don't have a clue about running a Supreme Court of the land to where everybody in the rest of the country and their states could not settle their squabbles. And then you're going to go to somebody that's 80 or 90 years old that lived in the 1800s and going to expect them to make a fair judgment on today's standards?
Okay.
I mean, really?
Okay, it's like the speed limit is 40 miles an hour. Anyone who's 80, the speed limit is not 10 miles an hour.
But they think it is.
They think they're going
faster too, though.
Boom, 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 boom. So times have changed, and we are well into the 21st century. We would like to thank you for listening to our podcast. Starring Vicki Main, registered nurse, certified hypnotherapist, and psychic to the stars. And this has been your other host, Dr. Michael Lynch in Dr. Lynch's Universe. Tune in for more shows to come. Thank you.